Welcome. Today we are going to be talking about hiring. So I'm going to take you through a process of how exactly to attract talent, how to make sure that you know how to get the word out there and how to nurture the people you're potentially hiring. So this is a really exciting process, and some of you are just jumping on here and you know a little bit about our systems. Some of you have worked with our expert coaches and you've worked with our systems for a long time. So I'm really excited to have all of you here. We always love to be able to connect with everyone. So I want to start this out with, first of all, hiring should be a really exciting thing, something that we feel good about. That being said, hiring should be what I call an educated risk, not an outright risk. So we're going to talk about some things to think about in order to get ready to hire. We're also going to talk about the actual system, step by step, what we're going to do to go through the hiring process. And definitely you're going to want to have a pen and paper with you as we go through this, because I'm going to give you some extra tips or some things to think about. I'm a big believer in not just sharing or coaching or training on the how-to. It's really important that we know how to look at the how-to and how to understand it, how to think about it. What do we believe about hiring? What do we believe about how we do an interview well, or, how we attract somebody to a potential position? So hiring is a really exciting thing because it means that we're ready to start expanding our businesses, which is great. I also want to just explain a little bit that in our community, hiring is typically for unlicensed positions. So not always, and I'm going to talk about when it isn't at the beginning, but typically we are looking at bringing on somebody who is unlicensed when we're talking about hiring. For us, recruitment is when we look to bring on salespeople or those who are, potentially in commission style roles, depending on what type of business you run. So if we don't know each other yet, I am Kathleen Black. I run Kathleen Black Coaching and Consulting. And here I definitely don't do things alone. We have done a ton of hiring over the past 15 years since I've been running coaching companies. We've hired well, we've hired not so well. There's lots of things that we've learned, but we've also supported thousands of other people in hiring. So we have experts within our community who focus on helping support our clients to hire. We also have HR experts who help as well. So we know how important it is to hire the right people and really to be set up for success. Okay, so I am going to share my screen because I want to bring some extra resources to support us today. I'm going to go through and do that. So we are talking about specifically hiring for success. So not just hiring to hire, but hiring for success. And honestly, this could be a multi-day workshop. So all of you will get something from this, but you're not going to get, the full implementation of everything because there's so many things to consider when you're hiring. And the more we go through hiring ourselves as a leader, honestly, the better we get at it. We get better at hiring. We get better at leading with time. So if you've never hired before and you're preparing, give yourself a little bit of grace. Having a system is going to put you light years ahead of someone who's hired 10 times without using a system. So we're definitely going to give you an edge today. Oops, there we go. So if you do not already follow us or you're not connected with our community, you can use your camera on your phone to scan this QR code. It'll take you to a link, and that link has our LinkedIn page, our Instagram page, our Facebook page. We're all over social media. And the reason I'm bringing this up is that we have different series that we do to support you when it comes to mindset, when it comes to business systems. At LinkedIn, I think we have almost 400 different publications now and all sorts of things when it comes to scaling, growing businesses, investing in your leadership. And so if you need some extra support between that and YouTube and our social media, you'll see a lot of content that we're sharing with the community just to make it easier for you, not just to grow your business, but for you to invest in yourself. which is the first start in expanding a business. It's investing in ourselves as leaders, all of us, even if there's a team of 20 people, we're all investing in ourselves as leaders. So I would love to be more connected with you. Please feel free to connect on LinkedIn or on any of our social media platforms. Secondly, we are at the start of a mini series. So today is our first webinar together in a series. So if you're watching this on its own, there are other pieces to this. And those of you who are registered with us live, you know that we're here today, May 17th, Hiring for Success. Our next webinar is going to be May 24th at 2 p.m. And that's when we're talking about standardizing for efficiency, which means how are we going to document things? How can we improve our standard operating procedures, our SOPs, operations manuals? I'm really big on hacks because as a business owner, there's so many things that we're doing all the time. And when we're first building, we don't have as much leverage. And I remember those days very, very well, when I was the administrator and the marketing coordinator and the coach and the director of coaching and the content creator and event creator, all sorts of things, right? We're wearing many, many hats and we're overseeing the budget and we're trying, right? So there's so many things that we are doing, and hacks are really important because as you build your business bigger, if you're doing it right, you're leaving yourself the ability to leverage with greater ease because you're documenting things, but B, you usually have more cash flow, right? So you're able to actually bring on people who have strengths in areas of your weakness so you can grow a little bit quicker, your lifestyle can be better, and so can your team members. So that second step, so important. We got to write things down, but how do we do that and what does it look like? And the third step is all about database, and not just having a database, but what do we need in there? How do we organize the database? So each one of these topics is going to build on each other, because if we hire somebody, we need to know, what do we train them on? How do we train them? What if they don't work out? Are we going to start completely from scratch, or have we created a path that's going to make it easier for us to hire the next person? And often the way that I recommend you think about this is you think about it like a production, right? There's always front of house, like main stage. If you're going to see Phantom of the Opera, you've got front row seats. You're right there, main stage. Back of house, you're going to have, your trainers, your understudies, your people making sure makeup and costume, and, your directors, all of those things going on. Back of house and front of house, or front stage and backstage, should not mix, not for the client experience. And this is a really important thing, because when we're hiring, you don't want to think of yourself as, Christine in Phantom of the Opera or the Phantom of the Opera. You're not the star, You're not the star role. That's not what we are anymore when we're hiring. When we're hiring, we want to think of ourselves as either writing the play or owning the production house. You want to think about yourself as having it documented. If we find the right Christine, what is our audition process? What do we look for when we're picking that person? How do we train them on their lines? How do we know if they're doing well or they're not? How do we know if they should be the star person or an understudy, right? You're creating the role. And as a business owner, creating the role is exponentially more important initially than just finding the right person, because people change, right? Somebody may love playing Christine and eventually they want to move on and have another role in their lives. And that's okay. Sometimes we get lucky and we have great people for a long, long time, but that's not typically the case. As we expand a business, things are going to shift, and that's okay. Shift can be a really good thing. And we want to make sure that we actually know how to attract and train and create other star roles in our team support or whatever you're hiring for. Okay. Which leads to that standardization and the database organization. So I want you to think for a second right now, what made you come to this series? What are you looking to shift in your business? And if you do want to hire, I want to give you your first action item from today. And that's to really envision, who is this person? Who is this person? Do you envision a certain gender? Are they a woman or are they a man, right? Do they have certain strengths? What type of values do they have? What type of things are they interested in? What hobbies do they have? Why are they interested in joining the team? I want you really to envision exactly the type of person who would be a fit in your business. I also want you to envision exactly the type of leader that you will need to be in order for this to be successful. So what type of a leader would attract the type of person you're looking to hire? What attributes does that leader have? Because hiring, it's kind of weird. We're not just hiring these other people for our business or for our team. We're also promoting ourselves, right? Every time you hire somebody, you're leading and mentoring somebody else. Is there a new role we need to shift into? Are there new attributes we need? Do we need to invest in how we see the how-tos a little bit different because our team is growing and changing? So it's something you want to think about. So envision who you're going to bring on your team and envision who you want to be and maybe need to be in order for that hire to be successful. They're two really powerful questions. In life, it's really easy to say, I want this and I want this and I want this. I always try to turn it and say, okay, why would those things want me? Right? What am I bringing to the table as a leader that people would want to work with me? And those are really important questions, right? Would we want to work for ourselves is a $1 billion question for some people. So as we hire and we expand, I like to talk about it a little bit like the metaphor of, playing cards or playing dominoes if you have a big group of people. And this metaphor is important for us to start because in business building, sometimes we think that, we're going to win the race, so to speak, with these big like swoops or these big jumps. And it's like, okay, I have the person, I won that round, right? And we get this like confidence and this energy and we feel really good. And then we go on to the next thing that's going to give us this confidence and this energy. And we forget that, oh, wait, we just hired that person, but we don't know what to train them to do. We don't know how to hold them accountable. We're not even in the office. I don't even know what they're doing. Or, oh my gosh, I'm sitting there with them doing everything together. And now I'm doing their role full time and I don't know who's doing mine, right? So it can be easy sometimes to win the first round. But when it comes to scaling a business or building a business, expanding your business, whatever you resonate with, it's really important to try to do things in a strategic order, which means we want to think of it in a positive way, like dominoes. Like step one was, what do I do to hire this person? Right? I have the job description. Step two is, have I documented what to train this person on? Step three is training this person. Step four is empowering them and having accountability and allowing them really to have autonomy in that role. If we miss any of these pieces, we might win a round, but we're going to lose the game, right? And that's not what we want. So hiring is not just about finding the person. It's about making sure we're prepared for them to thrive and it to help improve the business overall and improve our lifestyle usually, because as leaders, when we're hiring, we need some help, right? So not having the right mindset and systems will stop you from expanding your business and life. Or you're going to get a business and a life because in entrepreneurship, in real estate and mortgage and insurance, and most sales and service businesses, these are lifestyle careers or lifestyle businesses. So either you're not going to be able to expand or you're going to get a business and life that's really chaotic and you have a diminishing level of service that you're providing to the public or your consumer, your potential clients, okay, which of course we don't want. For those of you who do not know this book, the book, The Top 1% Life, Shift from Chaos to Calm in Your Business and Life, it was literally written so I could go back to the first days when I was coaching people, when I could walk with them, every week one-on-one with calls, and I could take them through that mental shift into business owner. I could take them through all the steps in the hiring process at a really deep level. This book was written so I could walk with more people and help you successfully shift to have a better life, a better life. Your business is fueling that life. So some of you at the end of this webinar are going to be like, this is great. I've got these resources. I know my steps in hiring. I need a little bit more support. You can get this book anywhere online that major books are sold. You can get it from our website as well. So this will help you dive in a lot deeper for a really obviously reasonable price of a book. So we're going from solopreneur, we're doing everything on our own, right? We're a Jack or Jill of all trades. And then we want to move into eventually teampreneur. But there's a missing step, and that's part of what we're going to talk about today, and that is the expansion phase. The expansion phase is everything that's going to take you from an outright risk, going from a solopreneur to a team, into an educated risk, right? Which is very, very different. I don't personally love outright risks. As much as some people might say I'm being dishonest on that, I'm actually not. I really believe in calculated risks. I don't believe in standing still. It terrifies me, but I really believe in educated risk, right? Standing still, oh my gosh, I'm taking hit after hit. But if I can strategically expand, that's exciting. So, point to take from this, if we try to go from solopreneur to teampreneur, I like to say bad things happen. We lose a lot of time, we lose a lot of money, we lose a lot of energy. And sometimes we win that first round of cards, that first hand, and we're like, we're on track, we're good, we don't need anything. And then the loss of money, time, and energy, it just compounds, right? And some of us know what that feels like, to be like, I thought I hired somebody, I thought I'm getting ahead. Now I feel like I'm 20 steps back. And the reason for it is they tried to build a second floor or first floor in a house without building the foundation, without having the footings in place, without having the inspections to make sure it was done right and your contractor knew what they were doing. You guys get my point here. So this series is all about supporting you in that expansion phase. It also is going to make it less scary again if you have turnover. Because I want you to think about it. I always talk about things like climbing a mountain. You climb a mountain once, your confidence is good. You're like, next time I'm going to change this. I'm going to bring more snacks. Maybe I'll have a different Sherpa. Maybe I'll sleep overnight at the third base camp instead of the second one, whatever. But the next time you go to climb that mountain, you're going to tweak it. You're going to make it better. It's going to be easier for you. And it's the exact same thing with hiring. But if you don't have a system, and somebody's showing up at your door and you're desperate and you're like, I need help, and you take that person on, it's just going to be train wreck after train wreck, usually, unless you get lucky, because we don't know how to sift and sort people, right? Which is problematic, of course. Okay. So expansion phase, we're trying to do 4 things: create efficient processes, document our procedures, ensure we have effective communication, which is a lifelong journey. Just ask my kids. And investing in training, not just for our people, for ourselves. We need to grow. If I can't be led, I can't lead other people. If I'm frozen in fear, I am going to attract people who are frozen in fear. And if I cannot invest in coaching or training or learning, maybe it's reading a book, like, don't get me wrong, or learning, I am going to attract people on my team who are going to feel the exact same way. It's amazing how things mirror us when we're business building. So here is the first step in the play card, the rounds that we want to make sure that we win as we build the business. And I'm just doing the ones pertaining to hiring today. So number 1, I know what to leverage next in my business. I know what that looks like, and I'm going to give you some resources for that. Okay. If you're saying, hey, I'm at round 1 and I'm not sure, that's okay. All of us are unsure. And in fact, confusion is a really high functioning state. I love to be confused. It means I have growth for new things, right? It's not bad. So I know what to leverage next. Number 1. Number 2, I have a step-by-step hiring system. I need a path, right? I can't guide somebody through anything if I don't know where we're going, where we're stopping, what we're eating, all that fun stuff. That's the Sherpa job. And when we're hiring, we're Sherpaing people through our journey. The third thing is I have a support system playbook, right? Typically, our first hire is somebody who's going to support us. So we need a playbook. What do they need to do? What are the best plays? What's most efficient? Because we're not just talking about human energy here or human leverage. We're also talking about technology, systems, and efficiencies. So do we have, the best playbook for the best efficiencies in place? Next, I have a training playbook. Some of you have heard me say before, if we try to hire, create our playbook, and train on it at the same time, train wreck. Really, really hard. How are we going to do that? How am I going to hire the right person, create what they're supposed to do, and train them at a high level for them to be able to perform those duties all at the same time? It's next to impossible. The only way to get around that would be to hire somebody who is a genius level, like not an implementer, somebody who is creative on their own, they're a self-starter, they have a phenomenal amount of experience, and you're going to let them come in and set things up for you. And hopefully, if you do that, they know where you're going in the business. So when we support with a training playbook or a systems playbook, we're looking to ensure that it helps you to leverage more. That when you grow your business more, you bring on other people, you're actually creating a calling card and a higher value proposition for all of those people, not just for you. So if you hire somebody with like a ton of experience, they've done this for 20 years, but they don't understand team, they understand small business, but not medium-sized business, you actually could get stuck and have to rip out exactly what they build. So we try our best, right, to train for where we are going. And finally, on our play card, I have a plan for my extra time, because drivers and visionaries, usually you're pretty busy, right? So when you bring this person on and they start to get up and running and they're efficient, have a plan for what you're going to do with the extra time you get back. Also have a plan for when you should have that extra time back. Because if you don't get it back, we probably have somewhat of a fail in delegation. And let me clarify, when I say your time back to work on your role in the business, right? So maybe that's more face-to-face time with clients. Maybe that's more time for strategy. Maybe you're a systems creator, whatever it is for you. It could also be more time with friends and family. And that's okay, but carve it out up front. Because you don't want to hire somebody, get them up and running, they're really strong, and then say, oh my gosh, I've taken a hit. You know, my gross earnings are down and hiring this person's costing me way too much. When you find out that the only reason it's costing you so much is because you took all that time you gained back by leveraging the hire and you decided to go golfing or to go hiking or to go on trips. And you're like, I'm spending more money at the golf course. I'm spending more money on traveling and I'm making the exact same amount and I'm paying for, this person's salary or their hourly wages. Well, that doesn't mean you made a bad hire. That means your strategy wasn't clear or you weren't accountable with yourself. We hire ourselves in our businesses every single day, right? Sometimes we need accountability as well. Okay, so those are the things that we want to have in order to make sure that we're going to have a strong leverage by hiring somebody else. Okay, which is exciting. So let's get into hiring. Let's get into some things to consider. I'm going to give some really quick here, and then we're going to get into the actual hiring system, step by step, and exactly what I look for when I go through these steps. And I'll tell you which ones I leverage now too, because I certainly don't do all of the hiring steps anymore in my business, but I used to. So first, number one, genius. Remember the first thing on the scorecard was, do you know what to leverage? Okay, you want to go through a genius exercise, and that is a full chapter in that book, The Top 1% Life. Again, it's like a full day workshop to go through it with me live, but you can do it on your own very easily. And you want to, because often it's an interesting thing that there's two different ways to look at genius. One is like your unique gifts and talents. And there's something that I find kind of unfair in the world, and it's why we have to be brave and courageous. It's that other people can see our gifts and talents with so much more ease than we can. And that's kind of unfair sometimes, right? Because every one of us, watching this, we all have unique gifts and talents. We 100% do. It doesn't mean we have more unique gifts and talents than somebody else. I mean, there's a beautiful quote that says, I'm special and I'm just as special as everybody else. And I think that that's a beautiful way of looking at it. The key is understanding where your gifts are and what things energize you and what things bring you joy. Okay. So you want to go through a genius exercise first, so you can identify those things. Like, where do I get energy and joy in this business? As an entrepreneur, I need it. That's fuel for me. So where do I get that first? Second, what is my genius worth in a monetary way, right? If I love being face-to-face with people and I love closing deals or I love supporting people in the service I provide, what is that worth on an hourly rate? Right? What did I make last year? What if I divide all the hours I worked, what is my hourly rate? What are the things that I'm not great at? What are the things that I'm actually really subpar at? Maybe there's definitely some things that I say I really suck at. I know it's a weird word, but like, first of all, we have conscious incompetencies, things that we know we're not good at. But we all also have unconscious incompetencies, which I always say, it's like I'm walking around, making a complete mess of certain areas of my life, and I don't even know it because I'm not even aware. So it's like I have to constantly keep learning so I know myself more and more and more, which is the number one really most important things leaders do. Who am I? What makes me tick? What type of leader am I? Where do I thrive? Where do I not thrive? Because your first hire should be somewhat unique to you. It really should. So we're going to talk about job descriptions in a minute, and I'm going to talk about, why I really recommend that you first do a genius process. All of our clients, as far as I know, I hope all do a genius process before they go through the hiring system so they can see in their business what makes most sense to leverage, right? Where are the gaps? Where are they doing activities that somebody could do for $20 an hour, $25, $50 an hour, some with technology way less than that, right? So we need to identify those things because you might try to leverage off some things that you still should be doing in your business, like marketing, for example, if you're really good at it. So you want to make sure you're leaning into your strengths and you're leveraging away your weaknesses. Okay. You also want to make sure you're leaning into the areas of your business that are higher money makers and that are your strengths, so that you can leverage off some of the pieces that even if you're good at them, they might be costing you money because they pay out to get those tasks done at a lot lower level per hour. Okay. So some things to think about. I'm going to go through these quicker because again, I love to dive into all of this, but I only have so much time today and I want to get to the hiring process. So genius, are you a manager? Do you look at the present? Do you look at the systems? Do you look at efficiencies? Or are you a driver? Are you looking into the future? Are you trying to create something new? Are you trying to pull the business and shift it into where you see it being in the future? Are you making decisions based on the future? Or are you making decisions based on tweaking the present, right? Are you people focused? Or are you task focused? There's so many different ways to learn about ourselves. Myers-Briggs is absolutely amazing. DISC, I'm a trainer's trainer in DISC. Almost all of our coaches are certified in DISC. We don't just use it for hiring, we use it for life, communication, how we support clients. People speak different languages. And I'm not talking about like French or Italian or Chinese. I'm talking about even within any one language, people process differently, they learn differently, they hear differently, and they truly speak different languages. Some people speak the language of relationships. That's how they get things done. Some people speak the language of tasks. They feel fulfilled when things are accomplished. And we need to understand which one we are, but also when we think about hiring, what archetype would our perfect hire be for the business? We want to set people up for success. So we need to think about, hey, here's the job description. Here's what I want to get done. What type of person would thrive in this role? Or wait a minute, I think I just envisioned 4 people in my job description. It's going to be really hard to hire 4 different archetypes or 4 different personalities in one person. Maybe we're not setting anybody up for success, right? And do you have a unique niche that you're really good at, that your business is built around? You want to consider that. Also, give yourself permission to do something that I took a long, long time to do in my business. And I still struggle with it. I still do. What energizes you or what drains you? When you're building your business, I always talk about pinch months or pinch years where you are going to do what you're really good at. You're going to hold maybe the cash flow or production, and you're also going to hire people and train people and support them and help them be successful. You're also going to let some people go. This is part of business building, right? But at some point, when you've done what you needed to do, when you've hired people, you've brought on help, you have support, at some point as a leader, you really need to be honest with yourself about what's draining you and what's energizing you. And if you're lucky enough to have built a great team and you have the right people around you, and that took me a long, long time to get the right people around me as well. I had to be really brave to have a big vision. And when some people weren't in alignment with it, you have to let people go where they're meant to be, right? But giving yourself permission to say, hey, this energizes me or this drains me is really powerful. Because as entrepreneurs, the things that drain us are costing us our visions. They're costing us where the business is able to go because we only have so much energy. We only have so much time. So at some point, we have to stop hustling and stop grinding and go, okay, wait a minute, maybe where I'm energized and motivated is actually a clue. And for me, I'm very disciplined. So that side of it isn't the fact. Maybe for you, you're like, hey, I need to be disciplined to do the things that energize me. And that's okay as well. So looking at hiring, if you are wanting to stay largely what I call a solopreneur, our different levels are solopreneur, expansion phase, and teampreneur. Those are the words that we use within our community for the last several years. So if you're looking to stay a solopreneur and you want a certain amount of help to ramp up your business, you want somebody licensed to support you, like most likely, because you are able to double your business, having somebody come in and help you with the licensed tasks. And if you're not necessarily wanting to hire any other people, that's okay. However, you are not giving yourself options here. Okay. If you want to eventually have a team, or you're not sure if you want a bigger team, or you want to be able to have people around you who are standalone roles. Like, they're not yes people. They're not only going to jump when you ask them. They have their own role. They have their own responsibilities. They get to celebrate their wins. Like, they're a critical self-starter filling a job description within your business. If you want people who are able to actually go out there and be standalone salespeople, operate without you, then you most likely, 99%, you want to hire an unlicensed person to support you as your first hire. Because the more you build yourself as an island, the more everything relies on you and everything has to come through you. Like, you're literally that center, right? Like, you're the middle of that cell and everything's reliant on you. And we don't want to set things up like that if you know later on you want a standalone business, or you want residual income, or you want a business you can sell. Okay. So if you know you want a team that's bigger than just you and one other person, or you might want a team that's bigger than you and just one person, then I recommend that you go the unlicensed route, because you're going to get a lot more done building that foundation for your business. Okay. So in real estate, single agent, we have all of these things that we do. We wear many, many hats, and we want to start to have some leverage. So the first step, if you're in a sales business, not just real estate, and you want to have some leverage, would be to bring on an unlicensed assistant and identify the things that unlicensed assistant can do. Administrative work, accounting, servicing clients, but not in a licensed way, like communication and database, contact management, and advertising are some examples of things that they can support you with. So the first step in leveraging a team is the middle in this pyramid. That's admin. That would come first. The second would be field agent, like somebody who's out selling, like an operator, if you follow eMyth. And the third would be a lead conversion partner, or an ISA. And the fourth that I highly recommend is a vision of the future for your licensed people. How are we going to help them have more leverage in the future when they're producing on their own, independent of us, but within our ecosystem, right? So the third step is where we start to really expand, and we have those other licensed reps as well. But the first step is the unlicensed, because if we don't have the unlicensed assistant there, we don't really have enough structure when we bring on those other agents. The other thing that's going to happen is you are costing your own business production. To say that again, if you don't have strong systems and processes documented in the unlicensed or the operations side of your business, whichever way you want to say it, you're going to be costing yourself cash flow, because the people who are out there trying to resonate with clients and consumers are going to be doing things that most of the time drain their energy. And for most strong sales agents in any industry, things that are more detail-oriented, more paper-driven, more stationary, they cost them production. The mistake is to try to take everything off their plate right away. The goal is to try to take the basics off the plate of our team when it comes to operations and admin. And then later on, if they're producing more, take even more things off their plate, which is that vision, right, of future leverage. leverage isn't just for business owners. Better lifestyle isn't just for business owners. In a strong high performance team, it's for everybody, right? That's why we're building this ecosystem. So the people that we attract who are self-starters and they're generating income, they're going to want future leverage with you too. Okay. So then the fourth step is an example of that when we start to get into better lifestyle, because we have even more support. And this is when we bring in not just an assistant, but somebody to help us with marketing or to coordinate our contracts or listing coordination, as well as potentially somebody who's going to help us sift and sort leads and, book appointments for our people who are out there with consumers. And this is where magic really starts to happen, because we have a lot more leverage in our business at this point. And people are very clear because each one of these roles have a different job description and they know what it looks like to win. And they know the things that are going to take their role down. So they have clarity. When we hire, we want to know, what do these people need to accomplish for this hire to be a win, be positive for our business. Okay. So that's just example again of us going through the different areas of leverage within the team. So strong systems are going to give us efficient team support. Weak systems leave us very open to the liability of overhiring and thinking that we don't have enough people and we have too much on their plate. And it's really hard to understand that if we didn't build in a sequential way, because we don't know what that weak link is, right? So you have to go back and really do an inventory of your business if you feel like you've overhired, or if, like, example, if you're in real estate and you're doing 20 deals a year or 30 deals a year and your administrator is run off their feet, I'm not saying it's the wrong fit for the administrator. I'm saying it's definitely worthwhile to do an inventory on, wait a minute, how are we processing deals? How are we supporting clients? What technology are we using? Because you can see some teams do 200 deals with one administrator, 300 deals. You see other teams who are very unique in how they support clients, and they might have 3 administrators to do 150 deals. But the key is to understand, what is that role creating for the business, right? And what does a win look like? Because you're going to have different investments depending on the answer to those questions. So here we are. What are we going to go through to hire? 7 steps of leverage. The first step is the job description. The second is advertising for the role. The third is an online interview, because we want to be efficient here and sift and sort. The fourth is a 24-hour test. The fifth is a phone interview. The sixth is a face-to-face interview. And the seventh is an offer. And when we start to talk about paperwork, right? Contracts, etc. So some of you might be saying, oh my goodness, there's 7 steps. Kathleen, do I need to go through all 7, or can I maybe do 3? If you want the most confidence in bringing on the right person, you want to go through all 7 steps. Please don't skip ever step 7. It's really important that you protect yourself and your business and you have very clear expectations. I really worry when I hear entrepreneurs or business owners talk about hiring, and I'm like, okay, and this in any role, hiring in any role, licensed or unlicensed, and there's no agreement in place. That is a huge, huge red flag for hundreds of different reasons. So please don't skip any of them, but really don't skip that step 7. It's really important for you and your business. So first, job description. I'm not going to read everything on here. I have no problem sharing a copy of it. But job description, what's really important is, what is this person going to be doing? Right? So again, you hopefully have done your genius exercise. So hey, here's the things I love doing that make us money. Here's the things that I'm good at, don't love them as much, but they make us money. Here's the things I'm neutral at. They make us a little bit of money. It's nothing notable. Here's the things that I don't really love. I'm okay at them. And if I'm being honest, usually they're costing you money. They're the amounts that you're paid a lower amount for. And then there's the things that we're really not good at. And then there's the things that maybe we tried to delegate and it didn't work, right? So anything from, I'm okay at it, but I'm not great, and it's probably costing us money, and down on your list, typically you want to consider to put onto a job description within reason. Now, we're not going to look at that list and say, oh, it would be really great if I had somebody calling all of my leads. Yeah, maybe I need an ISA, but I also need somebody really talented and creative. And imagine if somebody was on my Instagram, my Facebook every day, and they were like replying to everybody and putting this really unique posts. Think how great that would be. And then, oh yeah, I do need somebody to process paperwork and make sure like the brokerage is always on me. I'm running late with my paperwork or I'm missing details. I need somebody to check those things. This might sound familiar to you because it happens almost all the time. And when I was first building my business, I was probably guilty of this too, just being transparent, that all of a sudden we get really excited because we're like, look at all these things somebody else could do, and they're going to be great at it. And you're not wrong. You're not wrong. You want to believe and truly believe, not just like think about it, truly believe that whoever you hire is capable of doing these tasks as well as you and or better. Because here's the hack. When I was doing marketing still, and I still do a little bit for our business, and we got really busy, I'm doing it like late at night, early in the morning, somebody cancels and I've got a bit of time. I'm like fitting in marketing, which is a vital role in our business, like on the periphery of my schedule, right? Think about this, So the idea of bringing in somebody on marketing, even when they're an implementer, like I'm building their job description, I'm building their structure. I'm saying, here's what a win is: daily, weekly, monthly. Hey, every Monday, I'm going to meet with you, my marketing coordinator, because I want to see what we're spending on ads, what's converting, where we're getting traction, right? I have full dashboard presented to me every single Monday. And the hack is that even if I'm building the structure for that person, if you build it right and you're really clear about what a win looks like, the odds are leaning beautifully in your favor, because this person is either going to have 20 hours a week or 42, 44 hours a week. You're telling me somebody can't surpass what I'm doing in a few hours of my week, crazy off my feet as a business owner, when they're doing it 20 to 40 hours? Yeah, they can. 100% they can. If I can't help somebody do better than me with that type of a scenario, either I'm not using the right hiring system, so I'm attracting the wrong people, or I'm not the right leader in that situation. I'm not giving them what they need to be successful. So that's one thing. The second thing is we get really excited, like I said. Hey, I can have somebody do marketing and ISA and admin. Those are 3 different people. Sometimes you get a unique mix of personalities, and they can be like a hybrid role sometimes. The majority of hybrid roles don't work very well because people flow to what they're more interested in, what they like more, or what they make more money in, right? Typically, or they flow away from what they're scared of or what they're intimidated by. So you want to set up this job description for success. You want to envision one person, one archetype, one personality style, one set of gifts and traits. Okay. This is one person. And what are they going to be doing daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annually in order to bring value to the business and to leverage things off your plate that you don't have the time for, you don't make good money doing, or respectfully, you're screwing them up. Okay. So we don't want to take a custom job description and just like use it and put an ad up or share the job description without actually customizing it based on your gifts and your unique business. So you want to edit it. And also because this is going to create the start of your training list. So if you don't edit this and you don't customize it, you can use an HR company. Like we have an HR expert within our coaching community. And often clients think that they can fully leverage hiring. They're like, I'm going to get the HR company and they're going to bring this amazing person and I don't have to do anything else. And yeah, the HR company is amazing. Great. And you guys might have one as well. Perfect. But they can't do their job well if they're hiring somebody for a job description that's not accurate. And now this person comes into the role and they're going, wow, like I'm not doing any of the things I thought I was doing. Like, I don't really think this is a fit. Or, hey, they have me doing hundreds of other things that I had no idea. This was in the realm of my job description. And I didn't have a sense of the values of the company and all those kinds of things. So get ahead, because if you don't customize this upfront, you're going to get to training and you're going to trip, because you're going to have to go back and really figure out what this role is and what you need to train on. And now this person's there, right? And you're paying them. So now you're doing it on your time. Okay, so all sorts of things that we want to add in for our first unlicensed hire that they can do and help us with. Of course, there's a long list here of things that we would have that person do. And then we want to try to attract the right person. So hopefully you've envisioned them. Who are they? What are their habits? What's their personality? All that great stuff. Keep in mind what a great system does, particularly when it comes to marketing and advertising. If you're looking to hire, we want, which we're here, right? We want lots of great potential candidates. That's what we want. We also, and I know this is going to sound super weird, we also kind of want not great potential candidates, but we don't want to waste time with them, okay? And here's why. Because a great ad is going to provide benefits, right? It's going to provide the value in potentially working with our business. It should appeal potentially to a lot of people, right? When you think about hiring an unlicensed person, often our really strong unlicensed administrative or operations focused people are a combination of an S personality or an SC personality, okay? S personalities are our largest percentage of our population. So you're actually putting a calling card out there to a really high amount of people. So when I hear people say, hey, like I'm trying to hire our first team support or our first administrator, and we're not getting any applications, I'm always very, very worried because we have clients who get hundreds of applications. So if you're getting nothing, something's a bit off. I always say, hey, go back to your job description. Here's the mistakes we make with the job description. One, we get too specific, right? We get really, really specific into all these expectations that the average person, if they read it, are going to be terrified. They're like, oh my gosh, like you're thinking I'm going to run your whole business. I'm not even there yet. And you want me to do 3 different roles? That's super scary, right? So that's not going to be great to attract people. The other thing is we write job descriptions that are not, again, benefit rich or that don't envision the ideal candidate. What type of things would somebody who is an SC personality be interested in, right? It's very important to them to understand the values of a company, to understand the process. So you're trying to attract an administrator to give you more stability and more process, but you're not using any of that to attract that person. And that's what they're going to look for because that's what they're going to bring to the company as well. Okay. So first, we want to get as many people who are interested as possible using our ad. Second, we want to use a process so we can identify, are we a match when it comes to our values? Are we a match when it comes to our ethics, right? The way that we do life. That's really important. You're not going to be able to train somebody, and you're not going to want to, who you hire as a team support on what integrity is or what keeping your word is. You're not going to want to do that. So you want to assess in the process and see who's a good fit with you. And then finally, we want to look for who we want to make a commitment with. Right? So lots of the people who are going to apply to your job application will not be the right fit, will not be people that you want to consider. So I highly recommend the next steps I'm about to talk about because I want to save your time with some sifting and sorting. And I'm going to tell you some of the things that cost us a ton of time that are totally like not even needed when it comes to a hiring process. Okay. So let's appeal to the ideal applicant. At this point, we're thinking about an unlicensed real estate assistant. So we want to think about their typical personality profile, typically an SC, somebody who is stable and somebody who is concise. So we want to make sure that we're focusing on those things. So our mini description here, and this isn't the full write-up, like if you're using a job posting or something, must be extremely organized, possess pleasant phone manner, drive a car, duties include data entry, calling, some deliveries, office experiences considered an asset. For more information, send a resume here. You want it to be pretty high level. You don't want to go into like a full job description here, which can be sometimes a little bit intimidating. And again, make sure you have one job description, not 3 jobs that you're trying to merge into one role. Next, we want to have an online interview. You can create this whichever way you wish. The example up here is a DISC personality that can be done with an Excel. It's free, which is nice. Whereas when you have a final candidate, you do want, I recommend, you probably want to invest in a full disc report, because it's going to tell you, the way this person approaches work, how to manage them, how to support them. So we always recommend that you get a full report for a final candidate before you bring them on. But initially, think about this. We've put this ad out to the world. Maybe you have 50 people who reply. Maybe you have 250 people who reply, okay? Here's the mistakes that happen. We start to go through and read every single resume. And we're like, this person is really great. They have really great experience. I really want to focus on them. Meanwhile, we've sent this online interview. We've asked them to do a personality profile. We've now given them more information about the job description in the online interview. So write that in your notes. You want to respond. You want to have an autoresponder if you can, have an email set up just for hiring. So you can have an autoresponder to these people, or a templated email, okay, that you're sending out and thanking them for applying, letting them know that if they're the right fit, they will hear from you and you'll move forward in the process, that you're really looking for a win-win between yourself and the right candidate. And if they're not the right fit, then you won't hear from them. So not only pay attention, if we're going to move forward in the process, you'll hear from us. If not, we wish you well. We'll certainly keep your resume on file. Next, I'm going to ask you to read over the job description below, read the range of compensation that we're providing for this role, and I'm going to ask you to complete a personality profile and send it back to us. And if you did not send your full resume initially, please do that as well. Okay? Here's why I don't like to look at resumes until people have replied to the online interview. I don't know what personality style they are. But most important, honestly, is that if they're not going to take the time to reply to an online email interview that's going to give them more information about the role, or they read it and they don't reply, it's because they're not that interested. It's not the right role for them. So why am I going to read 200 resumes or 150 resumes or 50 resumes when I'm busy, I'm building my business? I don't want to consider somebody who's not at least going to read more and reply to the next step in the process. This is going to help you sift and sort so many candidates before you waste hours and hours and hours of time. And let's be honest, right? Sometimes we kind of fall in love with a resume. We're like, oh, I really like this person, or I like the colors, or I like, the way they laid this out, whatever. And then they don't reply. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll just give them a call, And that's when our gut can get us in trouble. You want to let the system bring the best candidates to you. Some of us hire one personality for every role in our team. Some of us hire the people we like who don't have any of the right profile for the role, right? Some of us hire on gut. Some of us just hire because somebody showed up and we needed help. And these all can be really, really problematic. So pay attention to how you feel with candidates, but take them through the whole system. Okay. So first, we have an online interview. We're not going to waste any time until they've replied to us. Next, you might want to consider using what we call a 24-hour test. And I really, really like these. There's a couple different reasons you could use a 24-hour test. One is because you have way too many candidates. Another one of the reasons you could use a 24-hour test is simply because you want to know more about the candidate. How do they tick? And essentially what this test is asking them to do first is to reply within 24 hours. And you're going to let them know about this, right? When you send it, or if you could do this after you have a phone interview. This particular step can go after the phone interview or before. It's up to you. If you do an online interview and you still have anything more than like 15 resumes that you're considering, I'd send a 24-hour test, because it's going to help you narrow that list down. And from there, you'll really learn a lot about people. So you're going to ask them to send you something that shows how they think, who they are. Can be a song, a rant, a picture, a poem, no guidelines, anything they want. I've seen so many of these, hundreds of these. Some of them are really special, unique, creative. Some of them, I'm almost embarrassed for the person to have sent it, which just means it's not the right role for them, right? Like it's filled with formatting issues and spelling issues. And, if your strength isn't grammar and spelling and formatting, you need somebody who is strong in that area. So these are just ways that you can kind of take people off that list if necessary right away. Second, we want a paragraph or two on why they're interested in joining your business, what makes them excited about joining the business, and any potential concerns that they may have. And last, we want them to attach again in a resume if they haven't already done so. Again, we're trying to narrow down to the right candidate. This tool is absolutely amazing. It'll also help you, if you know personality profiling, to vet the profile. Because sometimes you get a profile and you're like, their resume is really strong, they have experience in this area, but their personality profile doesn't really match. This is really weird. The 24-hour test will show you more about that candidate as well. Next, we want to do a phone interview. Now, again, hack as a business owner, if you are doing this yourself, which initially you probably will be, don't feel like you have to stay on the phone interview the first 15 minutes or the full 15 minutes or 20 minutes if the person you're talking to does not sound like they'll be a great candidate for you, right? If you can't hear them, if the phone's cutting out, if it's just not clear, they're not answering your questions, you just know it's not a great fit, then don't feel like you have to stay on the full time. The other side of this, though, is remember, if you're hiring for an unlicensed assistant, you're likely attracting SC personalities. SC personalities are less expressive. Doesn't necessarily mean they're introverts, although a lot are, but not all, but they're less expressive. So if you were, recruiting for an agent, you're more likely to get more dominant personalities, inspirational, very outgoing personalities. They are much more expressive. Doesn't mean they're extroverts. A dominant D isn't necessarily an extrovert, but they will tell you what they want and what they're trying to accomplish, right? S and Cs, they try to be seen less. So they're paying more attention to what other people need, to how they can support others. That's why they're so great in these roles. But they're not trying to have other people see them as much. They're trying to see others, which is why often we have to ask them to speak up or ask for their feedback, right? Things like that. So keep that in mind. If you ask a simple yes or no question to an S or C, SC or one of the other personality, they might just give you a yes or no answer, and be adaptable enough to ask them more. Don't just make a call based on that. Know the personality you're talking to, okay? So start with a question. For example, hey, at the end of this interview, I'm going to ask you to describe yourself in 5 words. I just want you to think about it, but don't answer me right now. We'll come back to that at the end, and make sure you highlight it, because if I don't, sometimes I forget at the end when I'm doing the interviews. So make sure, because you want to see how well they can process, right? As you're going through this. Tell me a bit about yourself. Tell me why you want to join the company. What can you bring us that no other applicant can? What goals do you have? 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? Where are you? What are you doing? How do you plan to achieve those goals? What do you do outside of work for fun? What motivates you? Describe your greatest business achievement to date. And we believe in team structure, family environment, or high performance environment. How would you fit into our structure? So we're listening for, who are they, right? How do they do life? What things are of interest to them? You also are wanting to write notes when you do these interviews, because when you do the in-person interviews, you want to see if there's consistency. It's really normal for people to be nervous on a phone interview. For me, I've done so many of them for coaching clients, also for my own business. I'm really just listening for, who is this person? How are they motivated? What makes them tick? How do they do life? Right? So you want to understand, when you're writing notes, get some support for what you're looking for with how they're answering. Because with a team support person, you're really looking for someone who values stability, right? Who values supporting other people, who's a team player, who's open to, following a team way of doing things so that you can have synergy. You want to understand, is this somebody who's going to come in and only do it their way? Are they open to learning and growing with the team, right? These are important things. The next is the in-person interview. Now, the in-person interview, you're going to want to repeat some of the same questions. As I said, you want to see if you're getting consistency. The other thing that you want to do with the in-person interview is start to get into some questions that we call value elicitation. So NLP is neuro-linguistic programming, here nor there. It's understanding that how people process what they believe actually creates how they act and how they do life and their outcomes. Pretty powerful stuff to know, right? So when we're doing interviews in person, we're watching, not just how somebody dresses, but how do they show up? Are they on time? What's their body language, right? Are they more expressive? Are they less expressive? We want to make sure we're asking some value elicitation questions. So you might want to add to your in-person interview questions, things like what's most important to you about an employer? What's most important to you about somebody who you collaborate with or you report to? If you could set your ideal hours and work location or environment, what would that look like for you? What's most important to you about the future when it comes to your career? These what's most important to you questions allow you to get to the root of what people are looking for and what they value. So it makes it easier to assess a fit, like a cultural fit with your business. When they come in for the in-person interview, you also can have another personality style profile. Maybe your team values Colby and you want to use Colby. Maybe you want to have them do a Myers-Briggs. Maybe you want to have them do a math test. I recommend you have them do something, because this is, again, seeing, are they a team player? Do they think about things? In our community, we have a math test. We have some ways to look at, were they paying attention when they read the question, right? Where did they make an error? What does that tell us about how they're processing things? But it doesn't have to be our math test. It has to just be something to see if they're willing to engage in your process and to notice if they were thoughtful about it, right? We're not going to not hire somebody because they got one math question wrong, particularly not with Excel and calculators and all that kind of stuff. But we want to see how they approach the task and that they care enough to do it and to show some care and concern, right, when they're filling it out. So the next step is the contract. Your contract should be easier at this point because you've taken the time to create a custom job description. Your accountability in your business should be easier because you know what it is they need to do. You can see we're starting out with daily duties here. So you have an understanding on what do we need to train them on and how do we hold accountability, because you don't want to have to be shadowing somebody you hire all day long. You want to prepare them to be autonomous, which means that they can run their role largely with you when it comes to strategy, but on their own when it comes to implementation and getting things done. So daily duties, as an example, print out all the showings for team listings for the previous day, call all agents who have shown or listed for feedback who have not provided it online, of course, add all feedback into your CRM. So there's a whole bunch of different things that we're going to go through daily, weekly, that you want people to make sure that they know it's part of their job to achieve, right? Keep agents abreast of any problems and feedback on their listings, bring a deal sheet to a Monday morning meeting so we know accountability on what's going on. So our administrators would bring us, hey, here's all the new listings we signed last week or that went live. Here's all the new buyers that we signed, right? These are things that we want to have at our fingertips as a business owner, as a team leader, right? Have them attend meetings if you're going to need their support in implementing things. The listing side, what are their responsibilities when it comes to processing listings? Are there timelines on those things? Are there CRM plans and checklists? What do they need to get done and what do they need to be aware of when it comes to listings? Same things on your buyer side. If you did a lot of pre-construction or you had a sales center, you would have a section for that in your team agreement. Okay, so they know exactly what their responsibilities are, because this helps you to be accountable, carve out training, and have the right plans in your CRM, which we'll talk about in a couple of webinars from now. When it comes to deals, what are their responsibilities? What are they sending? What are they getting done? And then at the end, of course, we need to talk about their rate. We need to talk about any time off. The other thing that you want to make sure that you have when it comes to agreements and contracts, you do want to have confidentiality. Typically with team members, you still do want to have non-solicit. Non-compete is really complicated depending on where you're located in North America. So you want to talk to a lawyer, right? At least just to review and say, hey, like, what's the precedent? What do I need to have here? You want to have confidentiality because you have a full database of people who trust you, right? Buyers and sellers and leasers and investors and all of those kind of things. And these people trust you. And not only do you have a legal obligation to protect that data and information, but also the value of your business is highly connected to your database. So if you hire somebody and they come into your business and they download and rip off your full database and they leave and they're contacting all these people, this is going to be really problematic and it's going to upset you a lot. And I'm not going to say that, a contract is fully going to stop everybody from doing that. I mean, I've had people take my documentation. I've had people take all of my content. I have people coaching my content who aren't even licensed to do any of it, right? And it's problematic. End of the day, you want to go out there and be focused on what you want to do in business. You want to have goodwill, not bad blood, right, out there. So having these things up front, what I've found over the years for my clients, having these types of agreements up front make it easier for everybody to have goodwill, because we're agreeing to it up front, and it makes it less likely that you're going to have to step into a courtroom or have any legal proceedings, which is not what we got into this business to do. We don't want to have to do that. So be as clear and concise up front. Agree on as many things as needed for potential problems up front. Hey, if you leave and you get licensed and I find out you're working with one of my sellers and you close a deal, what are you paying me? Hey, are you allowed to solicit my people, right? And I think sometimes with team support positions, we think that these things are not necessary. I can tell you from experience, definitely they are. And I would certainly be looking at protecting not just your current business, but also your future business and the people who are going to work with you there. So what do? We help people with all of these steps, right? Coaching is done for you or done with you. So we support our clients in all of this, all the steps of hiring somebody, training somebody, getting them up and running, optimizing their CRM, all of that kind of stuff. So that they're not trying to hire, create, and train at the same time, which I can tell you, as a business owner, I can't even imagine, because I've still got to do what I got to do over here, right? To protect the business and keep it going. So leveraging allows us to get these things done a lot quicker. We also focus on all of the processes, all the checklists, all the CRM plans that we need to have in place. And I'm not going to read all of those right now, because we'll be talking about a lot of the plans in our CRM webinar, and you can join us for that at another time. So here is one of our clients sharing some feedback.
Long-time clients, coaching with her. As my practice grew, I was being an individual agent and an administrator, where somebody kind of directed me to coaching is key. And Kathleen's name consistently came out amongst these top performers and top peers. One of the unique things I think about her coaching program is that it delivers immense value if you're the individual agent looking to start a team, or if you're a larger team. She's got systems within her coaching program that they help scale from the individual agent to the mega team. My sales partners love Kathleen as a person, as do I. She's inspiring. She'll hold you accountable to what you say you're going to do. We find her program has been useful for our team, certainly for the last decade or so.
That's one of our longtime clients in our coaching community. And if you're thinking that you need some support when it comes to hiring or scripting or conversion, or, hey, how do I sell less and help my team sell more, whatever it is, or you're on a team and you need some support optimizing, we help solopreneurs, which is Relentless to Rise. We help those in the expansion phase, which is Top 1% Life, just like the book. And then we help teams, full teams, and that's industry icons. We support their team leaders, their team members, and we do a custom strategy. And we actually help them one-on-one. So it's not like you come in and it's like, okay, you've got to get this step done before we talk to you again. You have one-on-one coaching time with an expert, depending on what you're working on in your business. So if you'd like to chat with us, there's a QR code there to have a strategy session with our team. We definitely love our clients and we're thankful. So anybody here who is a client, we love you guys, constantly cheering you on. And I will put up this to end with. If you want to follow us or get any extra resources, you can definitely do that right there.